Where's my next paycheck gonna come from?
They're not mind readers.
Your customer is mid-level managers. See if you can interview a company.
That's one of the big benefits of working actually with Unit City.
Do you know anyone else who could benefit from the work that I do?
That is a perfect reminder for all our viewers.
It's free of charge. In the Netherlands, you need to make sure it doesn't cost any money, right? That's the culture as well. We really don't send us any messages with any commercial. Yes. And I'm doing this for my family as well, so I do have a specific goal in mind. Yeah. It's entrepreneurship. It's trying, it's testing, it's failing.
There is this perfect partner visa opportunity.
Super scary.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unit City podcast. Welcome to Unit City podcast, and today we're testing something absolutely different. So our previous podcasts were focused more on entrepreneurs who were, new to the Netherlands, who got their visa in the Netherlands. But today we have a little bit of a different case because we have a Dutch person with us, a very true local. And we're going to ask a bunch of questions and, going to be a little bit of roasting maybe, we don't know that. But welcome to the podcast and let us get started. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Could you please introduce yourself so people know who you are?
Sure, well, it's my pleasure to be here. My name is Ferry. I am indeed a Dutch local. I live and work in Rotterdam. I'm originally from here, and I run a company focusing on humans and technology. And besides that, I'm mainly a public speaker, and that I do European-wide.
That is very interesting. Totally a different direction that we're going to go with this podcast. So, there are a lot of differences. Let's start with a very simple question. As a local, you know a lot about your country, and things seem quite easy, right? Like taxes, benefits for your business, how to register a business. Everything is in Dutch. It's pretty clear. But if you're a foreigner, you don't know a lot. Do you have any friends who are foreigners and who struggled with a lot of Dutch ways and Dutch things, how to actually get their business started here?
Yeah, for sure. I know someone who studied at Erasmus University, who wanted to become a solo entrepreneur. And it seemed easy because the Dutch government says you go to the Chamber of Commerce, there you go and open a number with us, you'll get your tax registration number, and that's basically it. That's how they sell it to you.
Wrong.
Exactly wrong, exactly. Because the problem that she faced quite soon before she started was first get a Dutch bank account.
Yes.
Because to do that, you need Dutch residency. But she came here on a student visa, so you're not able to open a bank account that easily, especially not a business bank account. For a business bank account, you need a whole lot of Dutch information and Dutch background. And if you don't have that, then you're not going to get a business bank account. Right. And without a business bank account, you're not going to start a Dutch business because you're obliged by law to have one.
It's a paradox. Like you cannot open one thing without the other,
exactly.
But the other doesn't open without,
Yep. And that's the problem. And then you're also facing the fact that a lot of information is available in English. But once you get to the office of the Chamber of Commerce, it's not so much fluency in English for them. So for them, it's more difficult to explain how to open a business in English, let alone if you don't speak any English. So yeah, that's one of the biggest issues that people find when they move here and try and start a business.
Yeah, and there are a lot of entrepreneurs who actually want to move to the Netherlands because, it's one of the top countries for your business. Do you feel like that, of course, not from a perspective of a foreigner, but from a local? How do you feel about your business? Do you feel like, okay, that is a good country for me?
Well, that's a good question. I think for the type of businesses, that kind of depends where you want to be. I think the Netherlands, and especially Rotterdam and Amsterdam, are well known for being innovative, but there's a darker side to it. I think the Dutch country as a whole is very much open to innovation, which is pretty good, but legislation is so difficult here.
Yes.
And I think it's more difficult here. For example, if you take a look at like America, the USA in general, starting an innovation there means you innovate, you find something new, you run with it, and then you start making, you start handling your legislation. In the Netherlands, you need to do the whole legislation first, which means heavily investing in all the paperwork before you go to market. So in that sense, it's difficult, but in the openness for innovation and the friendliness of the people, I think it's a great country to be an entrepreneur in.
Yeah. Although, even Dutch people, they still have to have a little help on the side sometimes. If it's an accountant or a business advisor, did you use some help from, the outside organizations when it comes to your business?
Yeah, for sure, especially accountancy. because doing your taxes can be difficult. Of course, you as a person are responsible for doing it correctly. I think mostly, and that would be my advice as well to starting entrepreneurs, is get help in the first couple of years. Because if you're a small entrepreneur and you are below a certain threshold, you can get benefits. But if you don't know about these benefits, they're not going to hand them to you. So you really need someone in the inside to tell you about those benefits. So an accountant can really help on like getting started and saving a lot of money. Yeah.
For example, 30% ruling at Unicity was a person who, of course, came to the consultation and said, I didn't know that 30% ruling is applicable to entrepreneurs, not to just employees. What exactly did you use besides an accountant? Was there some else service that you thought, okay, maybe I need a little help in that area more?
Well, mainly someone who, mostly just a coach, like an entrepreneur who was already experienced, just to help me show the ropes on how entrepreneurship works as a whole in the Netherlands. Because not just on saving on the taxes, but mainly how to create a company that you can grow. So in the Netherlands, you can have like a solo entrepreneur company, ZZP, but you can also have double ZZP, which is like a co-founder company. You have two individuals, but that means that you are personally responsible, also by law, which is a risk. And he quickly showed me that if you have a certain amount of revenue, you could grow into a BV, so a corporation, which then protects you as a person. So all fault falls to the corporation. So his first lesson was try and grow to that point as fast as you can, because then you have protection based on a business entity and not a personal entity. So getting someone who knows the entrepreneurial realm in the Netherlands and knows how to work, not just with the law, but also with like building a company as a whole, that was really a big benefit to me.
Anything else that you got, through the journey, the words of wisdom you could share?
Well, the Netherlands is really good for the lean startup method. And by that, I mean, don't go to market too heavily first, because you have all these legislations. So if you have a light version of your product or your service, test it out first. Also on the side of the legislation and law, just to make sure that whatever you do is legal in the Netherlands. Because a lot of innovations are not legal by law automatically. So you need to check that first. One of the biggest examples that we have is, these electric like scooters or steps that we have all over Europe. You have them in share version or publicly owned. The thing is, in the Netherlands, they are still illegal. They only had a legislation passed through a couple of months ago where they said you can only have one, which is done by the Dutch DMV. It has to be approved by law, and it has to have all these things like lights and a registration plate. But there were companies who thought, wow, this is an innovation in Europe. This is something trending right now. We're going to build one and sell it in the Netherlands. And they really failed. They went bankrupt because no one was allowed to use them. So it's really important to, if you find a market in the Netherlands, make sure that the law allows you to fully go 100% all in.
That's one of the criteria, actually. When people come on a startup visas, they have to fulfill this criteria of being innovative enough for the Netherlands, right? Write the whole business plan and actually convince the Netherlands, okay, this business is not something that you have yet. How do you feel about it? What would be your perspective? What could be innovative for the Netherlands? Because, a lot of people have their ideas like, oh, I'm going to start the ice cream shop, or I'm going to start, AI operated business or any other business. And they think it's such a great idea, but then they receive rejection. Yeah. What do you think could be innovative for the Netherlands in this way?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think in this country, we do have a lot of openness for innovations that are the next unicorns, right? Everyone wants to have the next unicorn. I think innovation really needs to take place in things that are everyday businesses or services. And I think healthcare is one that really needs more innovation, but also what they call like boring products, transportation. Public transportation is a big one. So I think the innovations that this country needs and would be more open to would be on like public healthcare and public transportation, those type of businesses, the boring businesses that have been the same for the last 50 years. I think that's the biggest opportunity.
I like that. It's not like inventing a bicycle with a third or fourth wheel, but actually thinking, what can I reinvent in that bicycle to actually make things easier?
Exactly.
Of course, because if we are talking about the general social even life system here, the trains that are operating, the public transport, the housing, it's a big problem for the Netherlands. Do you think it's easier for the locals to solve all these things rather than for the foreigners?
I think for locals it's more difficult actually because we are used to the status quo that we have,
Okay.
and we kind of look at the government as in this is a problem, please fix it for us. Where other countries may have already solved this problem or have a different view on it. For example, the housing is a good example. We have certain standards for what we call housing, but now we've learned that we are as a country looking into smaller housing like tiny homes and smaller apartments, not because we have seen that ourselves, but that's a trend from examples like New York where they have tiny apartments, very expensive though, but it is a way to have more people in less crowded areas.
Yes.
So I think that a outside view on these type of everyday problems would be perfect. Yeah.
That is a perfect reminder for all our viewers, because sometimes you think your idea is too simple, but it could actually be, quoting your words, something that could change the Dutch market. So if you are afraid that, maybe your product is not good enough, just come over to consultation and we will review if your idea is actually something that could be possible to sustain here in the Netherlands and to make it grow. And talking about your business, when was the time you realized, okay, this is it, I'm going full entrepreneurship?
That was back in 2016 when I experienced what they called a burnout. I found out it wasn't really a burnout, but I was just tired of the work that I did. The way people were working with each other, very inhumane. I had to compete with chatbots and automation. So I was doing the typing the whole day and the chatbot was talking to the customers. I really hated that. I wanted to talk to the customers, etc. So in 2016, I really figured, well, if I really want to play by my rules, then I will have to become an entrepreneur. I always kind of knew I wanted to do that, but I just didn't know how to. And I wanted to build some experience in the business world. So 2016 was the moment when I said, I'm going all in on myself. Yeah.
The changing year.
Yeah.
How did the first year feel for you?
Super scary. Yeah. The problem was that I was at home and my wife had just finished her studies. So we came to the point that we would have double salary, double income. In 2016 was still a very good thing.
Yay, good moment.
Exactly, yeah. And she has a very good degree as well and a very good job. So that would be the perfect moment. And I think 3 weeks after she graduated, I was like, okay, honey,
You were
listen.
like, no, this is it.
We're going to do something completely different. So I think we stayed up for like 5 nights talking about, okay, what are the opportunities? What are the risks? And eventually she said, well, the most important thing is that you're happy and you trust that you're going to do this. And she saw how unhappy I was in the work that I was doing. And I had a good idea, a good plan. I ran it by her as well, and she was like, "Okay, this is something that could be of value if you do it right." So yeah, that was the moment that I started. But the first year was super scary.
Wow. Well, I mean, I love that you touched on the topic of the family, because of course, a lot of entrepreneurs, not just locals, but also people moving from abroad, they have their families. They have their, spouses and they have their kids sometimes. And they think, okay, this is it. I need to move along. Actually, they don't. There is this perfect partner visa opportunity, no matter which visa they could be on, startup visa, blue card, HSM. They can bring their partner with them. And I think that is the beauty of the Netherlands as well, that you can still, have both sides, both your family, because this is so important for the support, and the business side.
For sure. I think the question that you asked earlier is like, what is one of the upsides of the Netherlands?
Yes.
I think it's the reuniting of families. That goes for terrible situations as well, where they try to reunite the family. Goes for businesses as well. So I think it is a country where they know that people come here to be either entrepreneurial or study, but they do value the fact that they want to bring their family, at least their closest family. So yeah, that's a good opportunity for the Netherlands.
That's an amazing opportunity. You don't have to choose between the two sides.
Exactly.
You can always have both. But of course, we all know that entrepreneurship, especially in the first year, could be a little bit of, it's a disbalance. Does it feel like an imbalance for you as well?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, they say work-life balance, but life was work. That was the balance. But that was a sacrifice that we knew beforehand. But yeah, it was difficult seeing people go out and telling my wife, well, this Saturday I'm going to be working rather than going to the city with you. But yeah, it was something that we had to invest in the business and our relationship as well. But if you discuss it before properly and you know about this downside of entrepreneurship, then you'll be okay.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's a downside in the long term.
Exactly.
You still, you make it work, and afterwards, as you said, you feel happier, and then of course people around you also feel happier.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's true.
Yes.
And I'm doing this for my family as well, so I do have a specific goal in mind. Yeah.
That's amazing. But when it comes to other maybe problems, or maybe some insecurities in this way, or you were unsure about something, were there moments in the first year or maybe even second year that you felt like, okay, this is it, maybe I'm going to be closing down?
Well, it kind of depends on the work you do. I was in service business, still am. So my question was, where's my next paycheck going to come from? And the biggest challenge that I had in the first year was I took on a client and then went all in on that client. Didn't really do any sales, just a little bit. But then if a project stops, you need the next project lined up. But if you finally manage to have like following up projects, you still have a big issue because you're not growing, you're just maintaining. So the next issue that I had was, how can I get multiple clients, still give them the attention that they need, still make more money than I did before because I need to grow the business. That was the biggest challenge. But the first starting is like getting your first client, that was difficult. But then getting your second, your third, your fourth, and then making sure that they follow up rather than having a gap in between, because you don't want to have 2 months without any revenue. That was the biggest.
Possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
That could be one of the big fears, of course, of entrepreneurs. You don't have that stability, There's nothing stable in this way.
Exactly.
You are responsible for your own income, and I think that scares a lot of people. But at the same time, which advice would you give to people when it comes to really making sure you have those clients lining up?
It's to use the clients that you have to grow. And what I mean by that is the best way of having commercials is that people do word of mouth, right? That's the biggest, easiest way to grow. If you have a client and they are happy with your work, always ask them, do you know anyone else who could benefit from the work that I do? Or would you be willing to tell other people how we collaborated and how satisfied you are? Get validation from them. And I didn't really like doing that because it feels like begging for validation, but you need it to start with. And if you deliver on your promises, they are usually happy to give you any way they can, some information, some feedback, some connections. But if you ask the question, do you know anyone else who could benefit from this? Because most clients, they know their competitors and they know people that do the same kind of work. For example, I'm a public speaker, so I know other public speakers. You're a consultant, you know other consultants or other consultancy agents.
Yes.
So you could send out a recommendation. So always, as a starting entrepreneur, always ask, can you hook me up with someone, but ask it politely.
That, I think, might feel weird, as you said, but at the same time, a single client who's happy with your work, they're not mind readers. They're not going to be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go recommend you to everybody I know. If you ask them, they're more than happy to do that if they're happy with your work. One of the differences between being a local person here and being like a startup or entrepreneur who just started the business here, and they're foreign, is a little bit of a tighter schedule maybe, because your visa actually depends on the work that you do.
Yeah.
And I think that could add a lot of stress. But one big question that I wanted to ask, it could be a little bit more provocative, but we want it to be from, the Dutch perspective, because finally we have the Dutch perspective as well. Do you think it's more difficult for English-speaking people and foreigners to connect on the business with Dutch people?
Depends on where you are in the Netherlands. I thought about this before I came here. The difficult thing about the Netherlands is it's relatively small, but it's very divided. I have a Greek friend, an expat, who says, I cannot believe that in Greece it's usually one culture. You have some divides by cities, but usually it's like the regular culture. The Netherlands is completely different. If you go to the north, people are less likely, and I mean it respectfully, but less likely to jump on an innovation quickly. They are more, they're not innovators. They're more like laggards, and less in line. Then you have the south, which is more friendly, more open to strangers, so to say, as in things that they are not familiar with.
Like Rotterdam.
Rotterdam is the most open and innovative, I think. Yeah, because we welcome everyone, everything, every new idea we test and value. That's not to promote Rotterdam, but I think it's the best city in the Netherlands. And then you have Amsterdam, which is mainly focused on English speakers as well, because if you go to Amsterdam and you order something like food, or you go to a restaurant, most
English
of
is
them they
fine.
speak English.
Yes.
Yeah, they have accepted it, and they're fine with it. And of course, you have some boomers who will say, "Well, I need to speak Dutch in my," the majority of people in Amsterdam and Rotterdam as well, they are fine with people talking English. I've worked for a couple of international organizations, and it was basically the standard that people from all over the world just visited and spoke in English, and came for a longer period of time and spoke English as well. We'll adjust, that's no problem. It's the most difficult in the north. So if you want to start innovating in Friesland or Groningen, that's gonna be tricky, because they are
Don't
not
go
really
to
open to.
Friesland.
Yeah, exactly. Go
Or
to
Groningen.
yeah,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
but-
exactly. Go to Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Utrecht,
Yes.
Eindhoven. Those are the cities that are they're basically open to any type of culture, any type of innovation. Yeah. So if you wanna make sure that you fit in, then those are the places to go.
Yes.
Understand the Dutch culture, and then you can spread out throughout the country. Yeah.
I absolutely love that we get the Dutch person perspective, because no foreigner would ever tell you that okay, maybe I think this city is not the best for my business, because they also don't know. And there's another thing. Sometimes as a foreigner, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
We talked about it in our previous podcast as well, that you don't even know which information sometimes to ask about. But then a follow-up question on this, it does feel good when people, try to speak Dutch with you and they try to communicate in Dutch with you. But when it comes to business, it could be more challenging, because for business, if you want to operate in Dutch, you need very good Dutch. And how would you feel if an English-speaking person would, come with a business proposal to you? Would you look into the proposal?
For sure. Yeah, because that's a good point. I am comfortable if someone speaks English, then I kind of trust the information. If someone tries in Dutch in a casual setting, I highly appreciate the effort. That's if you even just say hoi, then it's perfect. You've tried. Yeah, that's perfect. We appreciate it a lot. But speaking on specifically like technical terms, or and you have broken Dutch, it kind of takes away the feeling of trust. And that's not I don't want to be mean by saying that, but it is difficult if you're talking to someone and they kind of explain it in broken Dutch and it's technical and you don't really know what they're talking about. It's going to be really hard to do business or take up on an idea.
Of course.
Yeah. So then I would defer to English if you're capable.
Yeah. And you're absolutely comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's more of like your personality, or just in general Dutch people would also agree on this?
Yeah, especially in the cities I mentioned before, English is fine. They also are usually fluent in English. I think the Netherlands is one of the top countries in having English as a second language. So yeah, if you can manage in English, then you'll be fine in the bigger cities for sure. Yeah.
Netherlands is a very good country when it comes to finding your customers, and they can refer you to other people. But how do you go about finding your first customer here? Let's say you're a new brand, nobody knows about you. What would be the steps that you have to do to actually get going on the ground? And that besides writing the business plan, that's beside like talking to facilitators when it comes to startup visa, but just in general, how you don't go on the streets and show up, hey, I need clients, right?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Talk to the people you would love as a customer. So if you have your ideal customer, then try and find people who are in that position. So if your customer is mid-level managers, see if you can interview a couple just to pitch your idea. Just tell them it is free of charge. In the Netherlands, you need to make sure it doesn't cost any money, right? That's the culture as well.
That's the word you have
Korting
to know.
or gratis.
Yeah,
those are the
gratis.
best.
People love
Yeah,
it.
you need those two words in your vocabulary.
Let's translate it for the English speakers. So korting is like a discount, and gratis is like for free. That's the words you have to learn.
If you know those two, then you have 90% of your customers inside. But I think if you mention that and you're telling them, look, this is an idea that we're working on. We really think that this could be a solution to your problem. We're just trying to validate the idea. No charge. You don't need to be a customer, but please, an interview or maybe a showcase, or that would be a good way to start, because you're getting honest feedback. Of course, the Dutch culture, especially in Rotterdam, is being straightforward. So if we like it, we'll tell you. If we hate it, we'll tell you too. We're not going to beat around the bush. We're just going to tell you it sucks or it's
Everything
great.
straight in the face.
Exactly.
Be prepared for it.
Be prepared for harshness. But yeah, we're going to be honest. But I think that if you're starting a B2B company, see if you can get people to interview. If you're starting B2C, I think especially here, social media is a big thing, but we need fun. We don't want, we can see straight through an advertisement.
Yes.
So if it's not fun, if there's no laughter in it, then we're not even gonna watch it. Just a generalization, of course, but, and again, maybe you can do the same thing with that. See if you can get a couple of people who would be the ideal client, see if you can get them in a room and interview them on this is, I think, a problem you have. Can you validate for us? And if not, then yeah, please let us know. So see if you can get some people in the room.
That's one of the big benefits of working actually with Unit City, because we have a big community of entrepreneurs with whom you can immediately connect. That is very useful when it comes to, you know, especially your first year, when you are on the startup visa or any other visa that you're coming to the Netherlands with. If you are just starting out and have no connections, of course, it might be difficult, but there are other ways to do that. Of course, search in social media, as you said, and ask around. Any other things that you would recommend, maybe from your own experience, how you approached maybe some difficult situations with the first customers?
Yeah, again, like you said, it's not about what you know, but who you know. You need to find people who know their way around, because that's going to help a lot. And then for the first customer, the difficulty that I had was understanding their full scope. So I came from a corporate job where the questions that I got were kind of already in my area, right? Because someone had already done the research, someone had already talked to the customer. So I just did like the whatever follow-ups, etc. If you're an entrepreneur, you're all of those roles. So you're doing the first interviews, you're doing the understanding of the scope, you're giving the feedback. And the mistakes that I made was not fully understanding what they needed, because usually I would get a question, then I give my perspective, and then someone else will make sure it's a final product. I went to the customer with my take on it and not a viewing of the final product. So they said, well, I thought we were getting like a 90% finished product. And I said, well, no, you were going to get a written out strategy. So there was a discrepancy between what they thought they were going to get and what I promised I would deliver.
Always listen to your customer. Ask them. I think it's even more important that you listen out.
Manage expectations. What do you think I'm going to deliver then and then? Because if they tell you what they think they're going to get, then you can provide that specific thing. Or tell them that, you know, you're providing something else, but make sure that like manage the expectations.
Absolutely. And when you already are on the ground, settled, you have clients rolling in, but you feel like, that's not enough. You want to develop further. What could be your actions? Probably you've been through that stage when you were like, okay, that's time to scale up. What did you do? How did you find that experience?
Well, like I said, first ask my clients, like, do you know someone who would benefit from this? Then going harder on social media, because I think that, especially this day and age, branding and marketing is more important than direct sales, especially again in the Netherlands, where direct sales is really frowned upon. We really don't send us any messages with any commercial.
Don't even come near us if it's just an ad.
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna see by the first rule, we're gonna delete the message. But I think that goes for many countries,
Not
many people.
Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that like branding and marketing is much more important than direct sales, and make sure that you tell the story that is explaining the benefits of what you do. So not selling the problem or the product, but sell the solution and the benefit. Because like you said, there's a lot going on in the Netherlands. If I would sell the idea of having smaller houses, then no one's gonna like that idea. But if you sell the fact that you can live in a certain city and so much closer to whatever big municipality that we have, or that's gonna be the benefit that you need to sell. And that really helped me getting more clients, because the first clients, I really asked them, okay, what did I do for you? How did I benefit your business? I used those quotes to get more clients, because then I knew what to tell them. Because first I said, I'm Ferry and I'm selling this. And now I was telling them, I am Ferry and this is what I've provided for those clients. So that really helped me.
Always about the end value.
Selling the results, exactly.
But there's one problem that of course, I see here. So as a small entrepreneur, you don't have a lot of budget to invest in marketing team or to invest in even advertisement team. How would you go about that?
This day and age, use ChatGPT and ask them, I'm a small entrepreneur, this is the business that I have, and help me find some ideas. A couple of months ago, I used it and said, give me some guerrilla tactics in marketing for a new business that we have, and please help me sell it in a original way. And then analyze what's going on right now. So LinkedIn
Yes.
people are mostly posting this and that, and on Instagram they are doing this and that. If you want to stand out, then I have these couple ideas for you. So why don't you leverage technology and see if it can help you get some creative ideas?
That's good.
Yeah, because I think that's step number one. You need to really stand out.
But always go beyond and see what your customer wants, because of course ChatGPT will give you ideas, general ideas.
Yeah.
But would it give also the same ideas to the other company?
Probably, yeah, probably, yeah. So you need to move fast, and you need to ask the right questions.
And that also comes not with just marketing, it's just one part of it. But a lot of entrepreneurs also watching us, or people who want to get their Dutch visa, they also ask ChatGPT a lot, and they Google, okay, is this the way how I can do it? What kind of legal rights do I have? And of course, it will give you answer. But when you ask further, are you sure about this? Most of the times it tells you, yeah, no. Can you rely on ChatGPT really for giving you the best answer possible and kind of being responsible for, okay, this is your marketing strategy, this is the way you're going to scale, 100%, This not going to be possible.
No, you do need some inside information. You do need to make sure that whatever information it's giving you, that you can validate it. If you have zero clue what you're doing and then you're going to ask ChatGPT make a whole business model, it's not going to work.
No, you don't even know what you're going to do
exactly,
then.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, having the blindfold on your eyes and like going in the dark and feeling like, okay, is this something? And then maybe you touch something else, then not the wall, but the chair, but you wanted to touch the wall. So that's the same with business.
Exactly, yeah.
But I feel like in a lot of ways, on the first year, especially on the startup visa or the first year of entrepreneurship, it is actually going blindfold and testing the ground.
It is, yeah.
Because one thing can work, another thing might not work.
Yep.
Did it happen with you that you had to like switch direction a little bit and adjust it?
All the time. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Still to this day?
I still do. Because sometimes you stumble upon something and you see the potential, and you either don't know how to get it to work, which is fine. You don't know everything, and sometimes it just doesn't work, or the market's just not there, and maybe you saw something that is not there. So that's I'm still stumbling every day. That's entrepreneurship. It's trying, it's testing, it's failing. You keep failing all the time. As long as you win more than you fail, then you're fine. But failing is one of the biggest parts of entrepreneurship, and it's fine to fail as long as you learn from it and you get up quickly.
I don't know if I would even call it the failing, really. It's more of like really, testing the ground, seeing, okay, maybe this didn't work, but I'm going to try, I'm going to leverage that. I'm going to try something different. Any other things that were crucial to your business growth, maybe that you could totally say, okay, this was the point when everything changed and it was like a game changer for me, and maybe you could recommend that to our viewers as well.
Yeah, so as an entrepreneur, I always wanted to do it myself because it's my business, it's my baby, and I want to. When I started public speaking as a professional, I started out testing the waters first for free, gratis, which gave me the first like 10 gigs because they were for free. But I tested my work with smaller groups like students, high schools, even at some colleges, just to see if I was doing a right job. I could go two ways. One way was going full entrepreneur as a public speaker and doing everything myself, so getting the clients and getting the full benefits, or partnering with a speakers agency. Of course, you get a good fee, but they of course take a part of that cut, which is obviously
normal.
Yeah, pretty normal because they do some of the work. But it means that you are no longer 100% free on what you do in a sense. I still went the agency route. It was the best decision I ever made. And the reason why is, again, it's not what I know, it's who I know. Because I landed gigs with companies that I never would have been able to step foot inside because they are so big, and I was still a nobody, especially in the speaking area. And they knew all these people, so they said, "Well, Ferry's a good guy. You should consider him." And then if one says yes, then others will follow because you've proven yourself. If you deliver quality, then you're golden.
Social proof, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, social proof about especially yourself as an entrepreneur. So in this case, it was a decision of partnering with them. It was the best decision I ever made. Yeah, because I would have never done the revenue I would have on myself, and I would have never gotten into those opportunities by myself.
So would it mean that seeking professional help is definitely an important point
100%.
Within the journey?
Because they know the business and they know the area. Yeah, they have the expertise. So
Absolutely.
It was one of the most expensive investments in a way, but it gave me so much more in return that I could have never gotten in myself.
And sometimes you don't know. Maybe if you wouldn't have invested back in at that point of time, then you would have lost way more than
I probably wouldn't have been a professional speaker because they really helped me in that traction. And if I would have done it myself, I would have been so demotivated. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know if you don't turn to someone for actual professional advice. The people who've been through the journey by themselves, maybe you're going to be stuck at the same points that you were.
Exactly.
For another year or two, and then you get demotivated. And emotions, I can imagine, are not the best.
Yeah.
If you do get demotivated.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that if you're investing, invest in the knowledge of someone else.
Yes.
Because if you think of investing, you think of buying ads, buying space, etc. Investing in companies and people that have been around. They know people, they know how to get somewhere, they've already done it themselves. So like I said, the agency has been around for more than 25 years. They know every single person in the business. So who else to turn to?
They didn't just start yesterday.
Exactly, yeah, of course. So yeah, I think it's the biggest investment and the best that I've done as an entrepreneur is hiring people that, that are professionals and that know their way around. Yeah, for sure.
So if we summarize the whole conversation, I would say the most important points, and tell me if you agree with me. First of all, seeking help, of course, knowing where you have to start and to whom you have to turn.
Yep.
Second of all, very important for all businesses, knowing your customer well.
Yep.
And not being afraid to ask them.
Exactly.
Could you recommend me to some other people?
Yep.
Because this is going to lead to way more growth. Third of all, just going for it if you feel like it. Any other important things that you're like, okay, no, this is what we missed. I want to share this still.
Especially for the Netherlands, if you're not from here and you settle here, we value you as a person more than who you pertain to be. So don't try and become part of the culture. Just be yourself, be honest and open, because that is highly appreciated with the Dutch culture.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a good summarization.
Thank you so much. It's been definitely very insightful and so much fun because finally we get a perspective from the person, who could tell all of these little secrets to our foreign followers and people who are going to watch this podcast. Leave your questions down below if you feel like there's something that you really want to know, also from the Dutch perspective or from a foreigner perspective, and we would be very glad to include them in our next podcast. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
It was a big pleasure for us.
Same for me. Thank you so much.
And we see you on our next podcast.